Welcome to 365 Christian Men, where every day we aim to inspire and encourage with real-life stories about men. April 30th. Scott, writer. Scott is married to Tess, and they have 4 children. Together, they've been through battles none of us would wish on our worst enemies. This kind of battle can wreck families and leave parents and children deeply alone. Or God can show up.
Serious illness can tear a family apart, but a determined decision to rely on God can keep it together. When Scott Ryder's 18-month-old daughter, Sophia, was diagnosed with a cancerous brain tumor, his entire world shook. Normal life was gone. Instead, his life was now full of uncertainty. Bills, exhaustion, fear of the future, and most importantly, Sophia's well-being plagued him. And then there were the whispers of another problem, one he had rarely heard of before: families falling apart because of childhood cancer. For Scott, the risks seemed to be morphing into reality at an astounding rate. Time once set aside for playdates and family outings quickly was replaced with surgeries, treatments, and trips to the hospital, local and out of state. Some stays lasted weeks, and the strains of constantly being away from home, along with the medical roller coaster of not knowing which surgery or treatment would bring relief or make things worse, it all weighed heavy on the entire family. Scott became exhausted, physically, emotionally, mentally, and his family did too. Statistics and stories floated around the hospital. Caregiver stress and the strains of having a child with cancer risked the family being torn apart. With Sophia going through so much and Scott still having to work and take care of his family while at the hospital, it wouldn't take long before their family might become another sad statistic. Scott made a choice and decided to do something about it. He was not going to stand by and let cancer destroy his family. He was going to fight back. Scott and his wife Tess decided to make time for their relationship. Despite the constant hospital stays, they would be together for Sophia's surgeries, but they would also find time during the quieter moments to go out on a date. They made it a point to not let the stress pull them apart, and they made a choice to keep their marriage strong, no matter what monster of an obstacle came at them. They made a consistent and strong effort to be open in their communication. They shared their thoughts and feelings, frustrations and hopes. They refused to hold anything back from the other. Scott knew that understanding his wife's needs, as well as being honest about his own, would help them stay strong, so together they could be strong for Sophia. But he didn't just focus on his marriage. He focused on his kids too. Sophia's battle with cancer dragged on for years. When they passed the 5-year milestone, Scott knew that Sophia's younger siblings, Nora, Zeke, and Joe, would be watching how he handled all the stress. A difficult diagnosis was not going to stop the family from being there for one another, and Scott made sure the kids could count on that. It wasn't just Sophia fighting cancer. They were all fighting cancer, and the kids stepped up to help Scott and Tess. They encouraged Sophia during her downtimes, kept her happy if she felt sick or sad, and went with her to appointments and treatments. While on a trip to Florida with other cancer-affected families, Nora met other kids like Sophia. She was amazed to see that Sophia was not alone. Yet she also grieved that those kids were suffering too. Despite being only 5 years old, Nora was already displaying empathy and kindness to other families who were struggling like her own. She learned she could support others like her parents supported her family. Sophia wasn't done with her cancer fight. She still had a long road ahead. But despite the odds against her, Scott and his family remembered that even though God said he would make all things work out in the end, that didn't always mean that life was going to be easy or pleasant. Sometimes life would be hard. Scott nurtured a realistic, positive mindset, and the family relied on God's love. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verses 9 through 12 says, Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. Think of a time in your life where you faced great difficulty. Did you face it alone, or were you with others? How might facing struggles with others make the fight more bearable? Serious illness can tear a family apart, but a determined decision to rely on God can keep it together.
Thank you for listening to today's story. Every day of the year, our hope is to inspire you with real-life stories of faithful men who have gone before us. Hebrews 12:1 says, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that is set before us." Join us tomorrow for another story at 365christianmen.com.